from the kitchen, folks. In this film tonight, I'm going to be making a gin, a standard gin made from spirit and juniper berries. So to get my spirit, I'm going to be taking this stuff here. This is an 11.8% tomato paste wash. I'm going to be running it through the Air Still Pro. This is an Air Still Pro which belongs to brewathome.shop. They've been very kind enough to lend it to me. So I'm going to be creating my spirit using the Air Still Pro from the tomato paste wash and then adding the juniper berries to make the gin. So this first section of the film is going to be the stripping run. So the stripping run strips out all the flavours, all the colour, everything else. It will just leave me with a 90% vodka type spirit. That's going to be done on a reflux run on the Air Still Pro. So it's basically a fire and forget system. You turn it on, it does its thing, it turns itself off. It couldn't be more simple. So I'm just going to pour my wash into the drum of the Air Still Pro. Nice and gently does it. I don't want it splashing everywhere. This will take 4 litres, so I'll get most of the demijohn in there, but not all of it. Okay, that will do for now. So there's the full line and I'm exactly on it. Now I should put some distilling conditioner in, but I've run out. The distilling conditioner prevents boil over, but fingers crossed, I've not yet had any boil over with my tomato paste washes, so I'm just going to keep the faith and hope that that doesn't happen again tonight. So I need to put the Air Still Pro together and I'm just going to turn it round to show you the power socket just there, because that power socket connects to this column. So that column needs to be in a position whereby the wire from it is nice and straight going into that socket. It doesn't want to be overextended and it doesn't want to be bent too much either. So I'm going to push that in, and that is bent too much. So I'm just going to pull the column round, or push the column round a little bit so the wire is a bit straighter, and then I'm going to pull downwards, push downwards. I'm getting my pulls and my pushes mixed up. Push downwards, that vacuum seals it. I'm going to manhandle this beast around. And now I've got the power cable, which is a standard PC power cable type thing. We've all used these for years. I'm going over to the wall socket. Let's get the power on, plug in properly. And apart from the jug, I am ready to go. So I've got a glass jug underneath to collect what comes out of the Air Still Pro. I'm going to press this button once and it will go white to enter standby mode. I'm going to press it a second time. It will go green. The fan will kick in just a second to tell me that it's alive. And then the fan will go off. And now I'm playing the waiting game. I've got nothing else to do now until this is finished. So what happens is this drum warms up. It gets to a temperature where the alcohol begins to evaporate. That alcohol then passes up through some tubes where it's cooled down by the fan, and then the first lot, which is the 4 shots, comes out into this vessel just here. That is the stuff that you do not want. That goes into a bottle I use for firelighter. Then the remainder will come out. I will get heads and hearts. I won't get tails. I'm not bothered about getting the heads in there on the first run, which is the stripping run, but on the second run, which is the spirit run, I will remove the heads, but that is not for now. That's for a bit further on into the film. So I've literally got nothing to do now. I'll try and come back to you at various points this evening. I'll try and get the 4 shots being collected. I usually forget, but I'll try and do it. And then I'll show you when the dripping begins. But it will take 5 hours to empty this now from this point onwards, and I'll be in bed before it finishes. So I'll catch you later on and we'll get some little bits and bobs before bedtime. So it's been just about an hour or so, and that sound that you can hear is the drum coming to a boil. And the still has just kicked in. The 4 shots are collecting and dripping has commenced. So that's just about it now for tonight. I don't really need to do anything else. I don't need to measure it. I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to leave it, let it do its thing. It'll knock itself off and I'll pick this up tomorrow. So catch you then. Evening from the kitchen, folks. It's still day 5 and here is my spirit after the stripping run. This is everything that I've got out of the Air Still Pro. Now, unfortunately, I can't measure the ABV because I broke my alcometer the other day, but experience tells me that this is going to be 89 to 90%. I'm just going to err on the caution and say 90%. And so basically what I want to do now is just measure the physical volume of this, because I need to work out how much water to put in to dilute it down to 40% to put back into the Air Still Pro. So as usual, I've got a couple of big lovely jugs. I'm just going to pour this in and measure what I've got. I've probably got just over 2 litres. So that's 2 litres. It's just shy of 2.5 litres. I'm quite happy to just say 2.5 litres. So I'll just get this back into the demijohn. So I've used the alcohol dilution calculator app, and that tells me that if I begin with 2.5 litres of alcohol at 90% ABV, I need to mix it with 3.12 litres of water, which will make 5.62 litres of 40% alcohol. I'm not going to fit all that into this demijohn, so what I'm going to need to do is get a second demijohn and then split this and then split the amount of water between the two demijohns. Right, that is now 1.25 litres of 90% spirit in each demijohn. So I need to put 1.56 litres of water into each demijohn now to dilute this to 40% to make it a safe ABV to put back through the Air Still. I've topped it up to 1.6 just to be on the safe side, really. What will come out of the Air Still again after the next run will still be 90%. Okay, so I probably was correct to split this into 2 demijohns, or was my maths all over the place? Let's just see what happens if I mix it together. Because I've got to stick 4 litres into the Air Still anyway when I do it. And these should hold 4.54, which technically should be more than what I've got. Unless these don't hold what they are meant to hold. Now, I'm not going to get it all in, so there's a tiny dreg left there. So yeah, so these demijohns do hold 4.54 litres as suspected, or possibly even 5 if they are metric ones, but as far as I know they're all imperial. Right, so I've got to get the Air Still Pro set back up, I've got to get all that poured back in. You've seen me do this before, over and over, you don't need to watch me do it again, but I'll tell you what, let's have a bit of excitement. Let's do it in time lapse. Ooh. I'm ready to begin again. In once, in twice, fan kicks in, and then the fan will go out. And as before, the 4 shots will collect, we'll get dripping in there, etc. So this is the spirit run, and this is what's giving me my pure vodka type spirit. Pretty much everything has already been stripped out of it, so now I'm just cleaning it up even further to do the spirit run. Now what I've started to do is to remove the first 200 ml, and this has been on advice because there's heads in it. However, I'm actually running this a 3rd time today. Well, not today because it'll be in a few days' time, but I'm running it a 3rd time because after I've got my spirit out of here, I'm then going to steep it in juniper berries and then still it again with the juniper berries to make my gin, right? And I'll catch you when it's done. Hey folks, I'm back. I'm in the super sunny kitchen, so apologies if we get glare and so forth. This is 4 days later. I'm going to show you what I've got gin-wise. So this is what I've got in terms of spirit that's come out of the Air Still. I've now got 1.9 litres of 90% spirit. I need to get that down to less than 40% or 40% max. So in order to do that, I've been on the alcohol dilution calculator, I'll show you. And that tells me that if I've got 1.9 litres of alcohol with 90% by volume, I need to mix it with 2.38 litres of water, which will produce 4.28 litres of alcohol at 40% ABV. So there goes 2 litres of water into it, and you might see that it goes white temporarily. A loushing effect. And I'm just going to stick a bit more in. I won't measure this, there's definitely more than I need. So there's now about another 100 ml going in, so this is absolutely less than 40% now, but it is going to go through the still again. And this time when it goes through the still, it's going to do so with botanicals, juniper berries, and I'm going to put 100 grams of juniper berries in here. So I've got 100 grams of juniper berries in there, and I'm adding another 100 grams, so that's 200 grams of juniper berries. So for my gin, I'm working on a ratio of 50 grams of juniper berries per litre of spirit. So I've got 200 there, slightly under, but I'm sure it will be fine. Right, so I've got my juniper berries in the blender. I'm going to break them apart a little bit, not fully, but I want to release the flavours from inside the berries as well as the whole flavour, so we get different levels of flavour from these. So I'm just going to give it a quick pulse. Then I'm going to put this onto puree. And there you can see now the whites and the yellows are the insides of the berries. Just going to do a little bit more, I think. And that's good. There's a nice mixture there now. Now the smell of these is incredibly ginny. That's good. That's really what you want. So now using the neck of a Galliano bottle which has been cut, I'm just going to pour these into the spirit which is beneath in the demijohn. And this is what I've now got, and what I'm going to do with this now is to leave these. I'm going to let these sit and steep for a good 5 days, maybe more, and then I'm going to rerun them through the air still. So I'll come back to you in 5 days' time, or more than that. Whenever that may be. Catch you then. Hey folks, it's a week later actually, so I believe that makes this still day 16. Let's have a look at that gin as it is. So here it is in the demijohn, and it's nice and dark coloured, I must admit. That looks good. I think there's been some good steeping. There's a definite ginny smell, but there's also that slightly methanolic smell as well. And I'm not keen on that, but today I'm going to run it through the still again, and today I'm going to remove the first 200 ml that comes out as heads. I'm separating that from the rest of what comes through the air still. Hopefully that will mean there'll be a less of a methanolic quality and more of an ethanolic quality. Right, let's get this in the drum. So this time it's going in the drum with the juniper berries. Oh, what's going on here? Right. That shouldn't have happened. It's not even turned on. Okay. Lesson learned. I did not know that this would happen. I've literally only just plugged the drum in. I thought that this wouldn't kick in until the reflux column was on there. Okay, I'm slightly taken aback by that. I need to let this cool down before I can do anything else, otherwise it's just going to boil up like that. So I'll come back to you in a little while. But yeah, I've made a stupid schoolboy error, an absolutely stupid schoolboy error. I've plugged a drum directly into the mains when this should go into the column, and then from the column into here. So no wonder it's done that. So that is actually a valuable lesson learned, and that's just me being absent-minded. So hopefully my mistake will mean that you won't make that mistake. That was silly, potentially dangerous, but hopefully not too dangerous. So I'm going to let this cool for, I'll give it 10 minutes and then I'll come back to it. Right, I'm back. A good 10 minutes has passed. What a silly mistake that was. Anyway, that's the current scene in there. I can't see any steam coming off. So let's get back to it. So I'm not going to go right to the full line because I don't know if this is going to have a bit of a boil up or a bit of a flare up with it having the juniper berries in there. So I think I'll leave it at that. I'll probably put just over half in. So that's where it currently is, and you can see the full line just there. Now I did read a tip online that said you can use vegetable oil to break the surface tension so it doesn't boil over. So I'm actually going to put a tiny bit in. So just a little bit in there. Not putting too much in. Does anybody else do that or have any handy hints and tips for similar? Because I thought that was quite novel actually, and it means that you don't have to buy distilling conditioner, which is a bonus. Right, let's get this put together. So get this on top, get the electrics in alignment, turn it round, and this time plug the wire into the right part of the air still. That was a silly mistake before. So I'm just about ready to go. Need to get myself a measuring jug. There we go. And when this gets to 200 ml, which is just there, I'm going to keep this away from the rest of the gin that comes out. That will get run back through the air still at a later date with some other bits and bobs. So as usual, once for on, and then once to go into reflux mode. And we'll wait for the fan to kick in, which it will do in just a second. And then it will go off and we will be ready and playing the waiting game. Okay, you've seen this before over and over. I'm not going to go through the 4 shots rigmarole and show you when it starts dripping, but I will come back to you at the point when I'm getting towards 200 ml collected and what I do from there. So I'll see you then. Hey folks, I'm back. It's time to switch things over. Now I just want to point out that I'm not on 200 ml, I'm just on shy of 150, but I'm going to swap it over now at this point. I'm doing that because I was basing the 200 ml on everything, and I realise that if I do that twice I'm going to lose 400 ml out of it, and I don't want to lose 400 ml, so I'm going to possibly get a little bit of methanolic stuff through, hopefully not, but I'm not going to take off quite as much heads as what I was anticipating doing. So a straight swap, left to right, like that. Now I've got this dripping into my carbon filter, so there's a carbon filter under that which should clean it, and the distillate that comes out will end up underneath. The water that you can see on the side is literally just water from this being washed out. This here is likely to be 90%. Yeah, it's got quite a strong methanolic smell to it. I'm going to put this in a bottle and then rerun that through the air still at some point in the future. Just a little update a few hours later. Still dripping in, and it's still dripping through. All going to plan. Morning folks, it's the next day. I'm here with a gin update. This is what I collected yesterday. I think there's about a 90% spirit there, and there'll be about a litre of it. I've had a bit of a brainwave. This is the heads that I removed yesterday, and I was going to put these back in at a future date, but why don't I just put them back in today when I run this through it? It seems silly collecting 2 lots of heads. I might as well just put them back in and then collect 1 lot of heads. So what's left in the air still, I'm going to keep in there, and I'm going to add this to it along with this. I might need to take a little bit of this out if there's too much physical volume in there. Right, so I'm just dismantling the Still Pro, all the electrics out, get my essential piece of kitchen roll underneath for the drippage. They really need to think of a better system for this. There should be just some sort of tray that you can, like a little drawer that you can just remove. Dab, dab, dab. I mean, I'm wondering, I might as well even put the 4 shots back in, because it's going to produce 4 shots again, and it's from the same batch. So what's the point in wasting spirit? So yeah, they're going to go back in as well. I just need to put something underneath the reflux column so I can lever it by pulling the drum down. That's it. Sometimes it's a real difficult job. That wasn't too bad today. Oh, interesting. This looks a bit gunky inside. Let's have a look. Okay, that looks like some kind of soup, doesn't it? That isn't the best looking stuff, but okay, I can live with it. I'm going to take a couple of cups of it out. I mean, this, oh gosh, it's like gravy. I want to show you this. It's definitely the messiest I've seen it, but look at that. That is like gravy. So I'm just taking a a couple of those out to reduce the physical volume. But essentially, there's going to be a lot of flavour in there as well. So I'll put yesterday's heads back in. I'll put the 4 shots back in. And I'm now going to put the rest of the gin in. It looks very much like black peas, carlins. Right, I'm well under the full limit, which you can see just there, so that's okay. And we get the column back in place. 4 shots collector back in. Electrics through and in. So it's the same setup as yesterday, exactly the same. I'm going to collect the first 200ml this time, which will be to there, and that is going to go as heads, and that won't go back in. That'll be methanolic, and that will go in a future brew. So I'm going to turn this on at the side here, and once more, and the fan will kick in as it always does, and then it's going to be a case of playing the waiting game. There we go. So I'll come back to you when I get towards 200ml, and we'll take it from there. See you then. Okay, I'm on 200ml of heads. Quick swap of jugs. So today I'm using this jug because I'm going out this afternoon and I don't want to leave the filter in case it clogs and floods. So I've just had a whiff and it smells heavily methanolic. So I'm going to pour that into this bottle. So it's just playing the waiting game now. I'll be back this evening. I'll catch you then. Evening from the kitchen, folks. I'm just filming this one on my phone as my GoPro's packed in. Can you believe it? This will be my 5th GoPro. Anyway, let's have a look at the gin. So there's not as much gin in here as what you might think, because before I went out I did actually tip it into the filter. So I'm back, it's later that same day but in the evening, so I'm just going to take this and empty this into the filter as well. Pop the lid on and leave that to drain through. So once that's all filtered through, I'm going to keep filtering it. So I'm going to filter it twice more after it's gone through this time. So that'll be 3 times filtered altogether. This is on the advice of one of my YouTube subscribers. I'm sorry, I can't remember who's actually suggested I do this, but someone suggested that if I filter it 3 times with the carbon filter, it comes out tasting much better. So that's what I'm going to do. So when this has been filtered 3 times, I'll come back to you. See you then. Hey folks, gin update for you. It's actually about 2 months later. Yes, it really is about 2 months later. So this must be still there, whatever it was before, plus 60. Honestly, I've been busy. I've just not had time to make any more films. So when I'd distilled and when I'd filtered the gin before, I just put it in bottles, put it away and left it. Now I'm coming back to it because I've got a bit more time and I'm going to finish the process off. So looking at what I've got in the jug, I've got 1.2 litres of spirit, but I need to now remeasure it to see what the ABV is. Now it smells very alcoholic, but it doesn't particularly smell of gin. I'm not getting any juniper berries. But, you know, that's it. I'm not doing any more with it now other than bottling it and diluting it. Or diluting it and then bottling it. Let's get it in the right order. So I just want to make sure I know exactly what the ABV is. Got a new alcometer. Broke the last one. And I'm going to dip this in there and see what it tells me. So as expected, it's on 90% ABV. So I'm using the alcohol dilution calculator tool and I've put my figures in there. So the actual ABV at the minute is 90. I want it down to 40 and I've currently got 1.2 litres. So it's going to tell me how much liquid to add to dilute this. And I need to add 1.5 litres of water, which will give me 2.7 litres of alcohol with 40% ABV. So I'm going to use still spring water and I'm going to measure 1.5 litres from this 2 litre bottle. And there we go, that's exactly 1.5 litres. So to the left is the gin and to the right is the spring water. I need to mix these together. I need to get a bigger vessel in which to do that. And here's the bigger vessel, so in goes the water. And in goes the spirit. It might louche, it might go white, but it will recover. Yes, bit of whiteness as the oils go into a bit of shock with the water, but it will recover in a minute. There you go, you can see it's cleared. I'm just going to give it a stir around so it mixes nicely. I want to make sure it is definitely properly mixed before I start to bottle it. So I've got my pan of gin, got my jug, got a bottle and funnel, easy peasy, hopefully. So I'm going to pour it over the pan in case it drips, so I don't lose any. That's going in nicely. And I'm just going to carry on doing this until it's all in, so I'll come back to you when I've got the bottles filled. Right, I've managed to fill 3 bottles, but I've got 400 ml left in the jug, which isn't big enough to go into a spirit bottle and fill it. So I'm just going to put that to one side, and I'm not going to feature that in the rest of this film, but that will go into another gin I make at some point. So in each of my gins, I'm going to put a little bit of vegetable glycerin, probably 5 or 6 ml. I'm not going to measure it, I'm just going to estimate it. It generally is something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if there's any harshness, any burn in that spirit, the vegetable glycerin just helps to round that off and make it less harsh. I'm hoping after all the filtering and all this time that these aren't going to be too bad, but I won't know until I've tried it. Anyway, I was going to leave it as plain old boring gin, but I've got a feeling that the juniper berries aren't really going to come through, so I'm going to flavour them. Let's make it more exciting. So I'm going to flavour them with MyProtein Flavdrops. It's really concentrated, it contains no sugar, and I just add literally 1 or 2 pipettes into each bottle, and that will give it a nice flavour. So I'm going to do blackcurrant in this one, I'm going to do cherry in this one, and I'm going to do strawberry in this one. So blackcurrant gin, cherry gin and strawberry gin, which in all honesty does sound quite nice, doesn't it? So I've got the blackcurrant MyProtein Flavdrops, and all I've got to do is get a full pipette of liquid, and it's difficult because the bottle's actually going down, so I've only got 2/3 of a pipette there. So I'm going to need to put a bit more in. That squeezes in, and you can see you've got a little bit of colour in there. So I'm just going to put another 2 of those in there actually. And that is my blackcurrant gin done. So get the lid in, or the bung, turn it upside down, let it all mix, and now it's just a case of playing the waiting game. And what I'm going to do with each of these is leave them for a couple of weeks before I get into them and have a taste at them. So I'll flavour my other gins and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I've made a label on my iPhone. There it is just there. It's using an app called Printmaster. It connects via Bluetooth to this Fomamo printer. I'm just going to tell it to print the label. 1 copy, and I'm going to have to do this for each of the flavours. So I'll come back to you when they're all done. Right, I've got my labels. I'm now going to put them on the bottles. There you go, that's one done. Back in a sec. Right, that's me done for today. Here's the bottles. All nicely labelled up. I'll come back to you in a week or so's time, and then I'll do an opening and tasting. Catch you then. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. I don't know what still day it is, but it's actually 82 days later, and it's now time for me to open and taste my gins. To be quite honest, there's no real reason why I haven't done it before now. I just haven't bothered, but I need to get on with it. So I've got my 3 gins here: blackcurrant, cherry and strawberry. All nice summery flavours, and it is quite a nice summery day. So I'm going to begin with the blackcurrant one. It actually doesn't smell too bad. I'm not getting that twang. You know that air still twang that I always go on about? Right, little nifter. on the nose. Yeah, that doesn't smell too bad. Right, I'm going to pour the next one, which is the cherry. Notice the cherry hasn't taken on any colour. And finally, the strawberry, which also hasn't taken on any colour. Now the MyProtein Flavdrops should hopefully have worked enough on these to give them a distinct flavour. I'm just going to compare the smells. So blackcurrant, cherry. That one smells of cherry. It smells like tunes. You need tunes, mate. If you're not old enough, you won't remember that. Don't take it to Nottingham, please. If you're old enough, you'll remember that. And the strawberry one smells of nothing. In fact, that's got a smell, but I can't tell what the smell is. That one doesn't smell of anything at all. It's like I'm sniffing water. Bit weird. Is that a good sign? Right, let's try them. So if I suddenly pull a face, it's not necessarily because it's terrible. It could be down to the fact that I'm not really a neat spirits drinker, particularly gins. This is the blackcurrant, by the way. That's not actually that bad. I would say that's one of my more successful brews. Well, stills. The blackcurrantness is there as a sweetness, but it's not massively apparent that it's blackcurrant. So next time, more Flavdrops. But I have got that juniper berry ginness. Yeah. I could drink that with a mixer, and in fact I shall be doing later. Right, on to the next one. So this is the cherry one. Big smells. Also not bad. I'm not getting that burning. You know, before when I've done this, and I've gone like, oh, that's burnt on the way down. None, it's quite smooth. Interesting. Okay, onto the strawberry. It doesn't taste of strawberry at all. There's a sweetness. That's neat spirits for you. Do you know what? That's not so bad either. Out of the three, the cherry one's my favourite. That's because the fruit flavour comes through more. But I'm going to be honest and say they do actually taste a bit ginny. So the juniper berry flavour, it has actually come through in the end. And I'm a bit surprised by that because I just thought it was going to taste like vodka, to be honest, or burning fire vodka. Right, I'm just going to repeat the experiment with a dash of lemonade in each one. So I've probably put double lemonade to what there was gin in the glass, essentially. So I'm a bit of a wuss. I prefer my spirits to be a little bit watered down. Tastes fine. That's the blackcurrant. That's nice. Cherry one's good. And finally the strawberry. It tastes quite similar to the first one, to the blackcurrant. Not the same, but similar. The cherry one stands out. So, in conclusion, I think I might have done some reasonable gins here. Now, that I'm not saying I've done anything of Tanqueray quality, etc., you know, that sort of stuff. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet by any means, so please don't think so. And if you're laughing at me saying Tanqueray, it's because I couldn't think of a fancier one. Okay, I could have said Gordon's, and there's nothing wrong with Gordon's. In fact, if I could make a gin that tasted like Gordon's, I'd be quite happy. But, yeah, I think I've done okay actually there. I think I've made something which I could feasibly drink and not be repulsed by. And that for me with an air still is a result. Or an air still pro, I should say. Anyway, before I go, I need to get the picture for the front of the video. Just bear with me a second. Thank you. I'd like to finish by saying thank you very much again to brewathome.shop for the continued and extended use of the Air Still Pro. So I've enjoyed using it. I feel like I've come to grips with it now and I'm actually slightly more competent than I was when I first started. I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I definitely think I've improved. But yeah, it's been a journey. I'm going to go back and try the traditional Air Still again, I think, this autumn with my apples. I'm going to do an apple paste wash and I'm going to get back to grips in pot still mode. But be a bit more discerning about what I keep and what I recycle and see how it compares. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I know I've talked for ages, I always do, but I hope you've enjoyed the film. It's been a bit of a mission, it's been a bit of a journey, but yeah, I think I've made something which is okay. Right, catch you on the next film, whatever that may be. Cheers, folks. The film that you've just watched is a Moss Home and Garden production. You can find more by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. I'd just like to say thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel and for watching my films. It really is very much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to receive future updates about the home and garden films which I upload. You can find my YouTube channel by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. Please click on the red subscribe button. When you've done that, a little bell will appear. If you press that also, then you'll get future updates about the films which I upload. If you like my films, if you like my style of filming, then you might also like my travel channel, which you will find by going to youtube.com/Stuart Moss or type in www.mosstravel.tv. Again, if you could subscribe to that channel, it would be hugely appreciated. If you'd like to get Moss Home and Garden updates on Facebook, then please open Facebook and do a search for Moss Home and Garden and you will find the page. If you like the page, then you will get future updates on there. And if you'd like to connect on Instagram for home, garden and travel photography, as well as some stories, then my username is StuMoss, STUMOSS. If you'd like to connect on Twitter, then my username is @StuartMoss. And if you'd like to contact me about film usage or any other issue, please just email me on stewmosshomegarden@gmail.com. Once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel, for watching my films. I do appreciate it. I'd just like you all to have a great day.